paying yourself first is a widely popular strategy, but have you ever stopped to wonder, is it all it's cracked up to be? In this video, I'm going to dig deep and uncover the truth behind the paying yourself first principle. Is it actually a sound financial principle, or is it a clever, elaborate scam? Make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to reveal what is the number one strategy that I believe is best for increasing your wealth and ensuring that your budget stays on track. Now, what is paying yourself first? Well, at its core, it is prioritizing saving or investing over anything else. So you want to prioritize your savings and investings before you prioritize your expenses. It's about treating your savings and investments as non-negotiables, no different to you treat your groceries or your housing. You're treating them as very important, and therefore you're paying yourself first. You're giving yourself the money for your savings or your investings first before worrying about your expenses. You're making yourself a financial priority. So you want to prioritize your own financial wealth, which I think is very important. This principle has good sounding principles behind it. You know, prioritizing yourself and making sure you're thinking about your wealth creation and putting yourself first all does make sense, but does it actually work? Now, there are several reasons why it works. It is helping you build emergency funds because you're increasing your investments or increasing your savings. It helps you build long-term wealth because you're starting to invest or you're starting to save. Maybe it even just helps you go on bigger holidays. You know, you're putting money away for savings so you can do something. There are a lot of benefits to paying yourself first because you're starting to build a nest egg for yourself that maybe you weren't doing previously. And you might be thinking, well, that all sounds very positive. What's your issue with it? Well, let me explain where I think the issue lies. The issue for me lies in the fact that a lot of expenses are more non-negotiable than savings and investments. Let's take the example of someone who's earning $1,000 a week after tax. And they're going, I want to implement the pay yourself first strategy. They've also heard of the 50-30-20 rule. So they want to allocate 30% of their income for spending, 20% for investments, and the other 50% goes through expenses. Now, the way the pay yourself first method works is going, well, you need to prioritize those spending in your investments just as much as you do the expenses. But this is where I don't agree, because some of those expenses you can't cut. So let's take this person that's earning $1,000 and we look and they go through their housing costs. They look at their utilities, their groceries, their car expenses, their children's school fees. And all of these expenses come up to $600 a week. Now, when doing this task, I do believe it is great to list every single expense you've got. If you can put them on a spreadsheet, that's great. List the frequency, whether it's monthly, weekly, fortnightly, and then convert that to how often you get paid. So for me, I pay myself each week, so I like to convert all my expenses to weekly so I can work out the exact amount of expenses that I've got for the week. Now, like I said, they've come to $600 for this. So this means that they only have $400 left over. Now, under the 50-30-20 principle, this isn't going to be enough. If they go and pay themselves first and they take their $300 for their personal spending, or maybe it's a little bit of long-term savings, and they go and put their $200 into investments, and now they only have $500 left, but their expenses are $600. What do? What do they cut? Or what, do they cut the roof over their house? They can't cut things if they've already cut this down to the bare minimum. And this is my issue. It's all well and good to say pay yourself first, but you have to pay your bills first. If they are mandatory bills that you have to pay, they need to come first. It's no good investing money if you can't pay for a roof over your head. The concept sounds great in principle, but it's not how a lot of budgets actually work. A lot of businesses will look at their break-even point first, and this is the cost for them to operate the business. What are all their expenses that they have to pay no matter what to open the doors every day? Now, it's all well and good to have goals on how much money you take out of business or how much money on your personal budget you're going to spend or invest. But if you haven't covered your expenses first, those goals are no good. We need to focus on covering our expenses first. And this is where my solution comes in. I think looking at your expenses first is vital to any budget succeeding because you need to understand what is going out. Now, definitely cut these as much as you can. If there is stuff you are spending on that you don't think you need, then cut it. If you think you can get a better interest rate, a better insurance price, a better deal on your phone, do those things because that'll cut down your expenses. Once you've cut them down to the bare minimum, you know there is nothing else you can cut, there's no excess fat here, then you know what is left, and then you can determine what you do with that next. I actually think what do you need as general spending money each week should be your next step. Because if you budget this in and you go, actually, you know what, I've got $600 of expenses, I've cut them down to $550, I want to spend $100 a week on going out for dinners, or maybe it's buying myself some new clothes, anything I haven't budgeted for in my normal expenses. Give yourself that money next. This is a part of paying yourself first, is by prioritizing what do you need each week, because you don't want to be just dipping into savings willy-nilly. You want to make sure that you've allocated a reasonable amount for your spending budget. I've talked about this more in a video if you want to go and watch that out, about why most budgets fail, and a lot of it comes around how much are you giving yourself on week-to-week spending. And so we've done that. We've got $550 for expenses. We've got $100 for spending. So we've got $350 left over that we can either save for the long term or invest. And by doing it like this, we understand our expenses are covered, our general spending's covered, and we know whatever's left isn't going to compromise the other daily functions of our life. We can freely invest this money. Now we can then actually start to look at, well, does that reach the goals we want? Does $350 a week allow us to get to where we want? Maybe we're saving for a house, or maybe we're wanting to have $100,000 invested within the next couple years. If we look at that over that time period, are we going to hit our goals? If yes, then great. Now the only focus is sticking to our budget, making sure we're hitting those expense targets, our spending targets, and actually investing or saving that money. Now, if we look at that and we go, no, that's not going to be enough. I need more saved in that time period. I need more invested. We already know that we're running perfectly tight on expenses, perfectly tight on spending. So we can't grab from there. We can't just go, well, let's pay ourselves first and give ourselves more investing money. We now know the only solution to increasing our investing money is to grow our nest egg of income. We need to have more income coming in so that we can allocate more to investing. And this upcoming video I've got is all about that. The only way to increase your wealth is through building your income, and I talk about it more in detail here. I'll see you over on that one.